Welcome in. We'll get going in just a sec. And if you sit closer, you can yell at me. How about that? Am I the only one without walk-in music? Am I alone here? No? Okay, we're good. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining me today. This is my second AES conference. I came last year to San Diego and was pretty floored. It kind of feels like sometimes we're out on our own, and I saw all of you and all these companies, many of which are our clients, doing amazing things. So I was happy to jump in and talk a little bit about some things we're doing. I'm Guy Messick. I'm the Senior Director of Digital Technologies at IA Interior Architects. We're a global firm, and I'm an old architect that knows about technology. So I'm not IT per se, but I think about service of design for our clients and our teams globally. And a couple things I just want to set this up for. We're going to be talking today about the design and how-tos and what it looks like for virtual experiences designed to be experienced that way. We have a whole other thing we do called Design XR, where it's about using VR and MR for design for the built environment. I wish I could spend another couple hours talking about that, or about virtual worlds today. If you want to know about that other stuff, hit me up, I'll be around. So we're talking a little bit about why design of these spaces matters. How does the virtual design relate to and differ from real space? And UX versus space design. I'm not going to tell you one way or the other. We think they work hand in hand. And I think if you go too heavy on one versus the other, the experience will suffer, but you decide. So yeah, design matters, fundamentally. At least in the context we see this in, our clients demand their feel, their branding, their culture, as well as a certain type of usability, which can be very dramatically different in virtual space. And here's some examples of how we leverage the IXR studio, the talent around the firm, and why it's a little bit different than maybe some people thought, certainly our clients did. We will bring in our strategists, lighting designers, experiential designers for signage, wayfinding, all these things you do in the real world. We're finding that same traction in the virtual world. You're having visioning sessions with teams all across the world, and they can come together in a headset to help you develop that space. So let's start looking around. So the three use cases, try to pin this down a little bit, gather, learn, and experience. And we'll show some examples and videos. I'll talk through the stories of how these worked out. So with gather, this is where we started. This was right after everybody went home a few years ago, and our clients started asking us, well, what about different ways of meeting? What about this extended reality stuff? We're already getting web meeting burnout. We agreed, and we decided to start funding and looking at this and working with the clients. And their first ask was, how do we meet? So we started calling that gather, and we started developing ideas about similar terminology used for real space, like social collisions. That means you're gathered in a space, you don't have a set meeting, you see somebody and you talk about life and maybe your projects. We discovered that having open spaces where people can drop in was accomplishing similar things, brainstorming, productivity, and then trying to have more equitable experiences for people who some are in on-prem, in office, some are in different areas, some are working at home. So we'll tell the story of our IA Atlanta studio. So it's in Midtown Atlanta. It's a really beautiful space. It's a couple years old, and we decided we'll take that and see what happens when we set a design team loose on it about what are the differences and what do they see. We came up with a family resemblance, but a bit different. So on the left is the actual studio, 9 enclosed spaces. That becomes 3. Most of the larger presentation space, social space, moves outside, so to speak. And maybe that's how we want all of our offices, I don't know. So again, on the left is the studio, the right is the virtual space. So the cues of materiality and branding are there. It's recognizable. I had not seen the real space until we developed this one that I visited for one of our leadership meetings, and I got it right away. I knew where I was going to a degree. You just don't need as many columns and stuff because there's no gravity or structural engineering. So we realized outdoor space was #1 in the visioning session. Biophilia, getting in plants and grasses that move in the virtual breeze, fire pits. If you don't tell anybody where to go, that's where they go, like every time. Gather around there and they get loud, much louder than a real meeting, we discovered. But social spaces, meeting spaces, giving the ability to do what people find productive in meetings. And we do get a lot of call for, well, we need whiteboards, we need sticky notes. Okay, we have that. I think a lot of it is just being able to communicate, we believe, in a more human way than a web call. I think you feel more connected to people with spatial audio. If they're on the right, you hear them there. The further you are away, the lower their volume. You turn, you see a level of expressions. It's quite dramatic. Immersive learning, big topic. You can go a lot of ways here. This is a case study about a proof of concept we did for one of our clients, CBRE, and we took a space we had designed for them and reimagined it and reformatted it to become a onboarding system for their new employees, as well as training them beyond sending them in a PDF, because everyone's largely remote globally for them. So you get a PDF and good luck. This worked much better. So everything is self-guided. We worked with them and invented an onboarding program for them so they could provision their headsets, build the environment, and you're led throughout. So you can watch videos, pick up your own video from your tablet, go through the exercises, drink a coffee. People love the coffee. And then we also found picking up stuff and looking at it, reading it, very effective. It sounds so simplistic, but if it works right and it's telling the story, it's good. Here's the gamification of their history. And then at the end of the week, all the onboardees from that week, wherever in the world, they met on the terrace for a social time. Their little virtual cocktails. But I believe the response was really positive across the board. And next up is customer experience. And I'm saying internal and external because I think that's relevant. If you're at a medium, large organization, you have your internal clients, your internal stakeholders, your people you want to connect with. And this particular case study is for two of our global clients that needed to reach out to their external customers. They didn't want to travel, they needed to connect with them in a meaningful way. So we invented and designed spaces to do that. Whether it's talking about products, sales, connections, collaboration, or just feeling a better connection than you can get, again, from typical means. So this first one, this was a project we designed. It's in real life on the 3rd floor of a tower. We moved it to the 61st floor. This room doesn't exist, but it's recognizable because the look, the feel, and the standards are everywhere. We also had to work out how do you get a drone flight to give you dimensional views that feel real and look good. Turns out people didn't usually want to look away from buildings. We worked with Multivista, by the way, they were great. But this is the client standards, their materiality, all brought in. It's very important that that brand was there. So social spaces, seating areas, kind of a tour you go through, an agenda board that changes up for what you need to do, then into the town hall. So this space is very much like the real one, except the ceiling's twice as high, and it's an IMAX screen instead of a wide narrow, and there's less seating, and it's further apart, because that's more comfortable. But we also worked with our vision groups on getting the angle and the distance of the chairs pretty specifically out there, and then you end up in what we call the selfie room, where you look at your view, take your pictures, and you've had a tour and an experience up to an hour with the clients and your executive reps coming through there. Next up, another CBRE project, which has really caused a lot of kind of commotion in the London market. Good for us. This was based on their Henrietta House location, which they love. They have a website just for this place. And the idea was to take what was interesting and cool about it and turn it into a place where they could meet their clients globally and bring them in and repurpose it for a lot of different things. So we did things like, and we helped them build their own VR room in Henrietta House. So we took this, one of the big differences, we took the lobby entry and put it above for a number of reasons. One of those reasons is it's more easy to walk up to the edge to a railing and look down and transport down. Little things like that that make the experience really flow. I mean, stairs look great. We love stairs, but they're not that important in VR. The coffee machine, again, I get cynical about things like coffee machines, and people prove me wrong every time. They love them. We also worked again on learning and boards, the initial ESG format. We've reformatted this several times, and they are now doing it on their own. They have their own team that updates this and does their own work. But a lot of outdoor space, which is always at a big premium in London. This is in Hyde Park. Again, the drone flight, getting the right view. We're also working on trying to get the plants to grow when you water them. If you're English, you'd understand, apparently. And the fire pit. Now, this is sort of working with their palette of materials. So a lot of grays, a lot of more subdued things, but it worked well. And then we built the amphitheater because people would rather go outside to see big presentations than be in a small room or a conference room. So we have the big screen, curved screen, and you can see it from a lot of distance around it. And then, how to contact them, how to talk. They've had enormous interest in this from their clients, and continues to this day. And we are constantly trying to improve it and update them on how that can work. So that's some case studies. And I'll open up to questions, so we have a little room for that. One thing that I get asked a lot, and I thought I'd throw in the little tech page here, is how do you do this stuff? As far as how long it takes, it depends. That's my only answer there. But what we're doing now is we start with design, and we design primarily in Revit. Every project, every desktop in the firm, 23 studios around the world uses that. With some Rhino work picking up through our Fugue art people out of Boston. Then we have to optimize that because Revit is not designed to produce geometry that works great in VR. So we have to optimize in Max or Maya, or both, depending. Then we do develop. And most often that's been Unity, but Unreal is definitely growing for a lot of reasons. So very big companies are about to move to XR in their AEC products, and they seem to be leaning towards Unreal. And then platforms. Everything we saw is on the Glue platform, but we're getting requests to work with others or develop our own custom ones, so we've been experimenting with that for some time. So how do you apply this? We have specific problems we can solve now, and our clients, however, invent new ones all the time. We're working with a large banking client that they need to get some buzz going and also do change management for their staff moving to their new giant headquarters in the city of London. And it's a different way of looking at it. It's multi-user experience, it's having different rooms available. Security is obviously a big deal, but the design is still what they're talking to us about. The UX is important, but not if it overrides the look and the feel of the design of the space. And I've heard ROI come up in every presentation I've been to today, and I don't know if the person's here, but last year there was a presentation by the creative directors at Ford showing how they were going to gravity sketch for a lot of their work, and he said for them, ROI is rate of implementation. And I totally stole that and brought it back, because if you're not implementing, if you're not getting your users excited and your clients excited, then your investment's shot anyway. It just really doesn't matter. So that's the balance that we try and have. And for us, that balance is about getting very compelling places people want to go in virtual space. And so while we do some questions, if you want, you can snap the QR code. And that's a 360 simulation of our Atlanta space. It is our Atlanta space, but in a 360 tour, look at it, landscape, hit the max button. And it's kind of fun. You can use your finger to move or just move around with your phone. And with that, any questions? You have a microphone somewhere, or small room, you could shout to, I guess. Yes? Glue's a VR platform, and they're based in Finland, and we've worked with them for a long time. And they're part developers, part platform, but they give us a secure platform to create organizations and teams. So the security is what we're happy about. They pretty much take our Unity files, so we're creating it, and when we need something really special, they can do some pretty magic Unity development on their own. Yes, I can't see everybody's hand, but anybody else? Yes?
So when you're designing, is it part of the design when you do the immersive experience too, or do you do it after?
What we've been looking at today is its own separate design process. Although these were based on real world examples, they're rather different, but they're recognizable. So some are done before to determine what the built environment is going to be. We're doing a very large one for a financial company on the East Coast. And when they first looked at this, they go, well, we want to spend the money and do the full experience like this, because this looks really good. It just takes time to get there. And then once they looked at it, they went, okay, well, whether we sell this or not to the executives, we want to use it for a meeting space. But we also did one we're in the middle of now, where the client was adamant it could not look like any existing space. It had to be its own special world. So all of that, if you will. But yeah, learning how to design the space is different. And I would say anybody who's doing it, don't get design sign off unless they're in a headset. Don't show them on a desktop, don't show them in a browser. They need to be in a headset and to really make those decisions. Ask me how I know later. Yes?
I was curious if you have any analytics on how much time people spend in these spaces?
We can gather that information. Right now, the agreements we have with the clients is they have to drive that. We don't own that separately yet. We're kind of trying to, we want to work on a balance. You look like at some of the AI apps, they own everything. But we have to be very careful with our privacy concerns, because as soon as you say that, like we want to gather analytics on time, we'll go talk to HR, et cetera. But we have had plenty of people stay until their batteries died. That's my seat at the pants. Like they disappear after an hour, they didn't charge their headset up. But people come back for more, so I hope that's a good sign. Yes? If I can't see you, just yell at me.
Are you seeing any requests to make strategy experiences?
Yes. And the mixed reality requests are mostly about service support and training, or seeing large-scale artwork in place. So we'll talk about that one first because it's kind of fun. We have a division, a company in the company called Fugue, F-Y-O-O-G. They're architects, musicians, artists, and they're based in Austin. And they do amazing, beautiful, usually large-scale art for buildings. And so they want to see that in the building in place with the client, look at different options. That's a hard problem. We're working on that right now. The stickiness of those big models is a deal, but that's definitely going forward. But also looking for our banking, we do a lot of retail banking design work. So those folks we're looking at creating a mixed reality system for their associates who work in the branches, and I didn't know this. They have to work on those machines. Like, I didn't even know what a check sorting machine was, and now we do. So how do we get that ecosystem working for them? And we, partnering up with some of the people here for sure. But for us, from designers, our dream is to walk into a cold shell space, put on headset, glasses, whatever, and see the new design and walk around and interact with it. Our problem is people need to see materials. So when you look at like construction coordination models, it's great. Purple's cold water, yellow's hot water, whatever it might be. We need to see wood grain and carpet and things like that. So we think mixed reality is going to boom, starting very soon. We hope maybe the Quest 3 will help drive that perception, but we're going to be deeply involved in that. Thank you. And if you want to get in touch, please do.